In this section, we'll be talking about multiplication. Now let's look at the multiplication of whole numbers. Multiplication is a shorthand way to add numbers. Which is easier, to add 12 plus 12 plus 12 plus 12 plus 12, or to multiply 12 times 5? Both ways you get the same answer, but it's much easier to do the multiplication than it is the repeated addition. There's some vocabulary in multiplication. Factors are the numbers that you multiply together, and product is the answer to a multiplication problem. There are 3 ways that you can indicate that the operation is multiplication. You can use the times symbol, which is the X. It can also be a dot, and it can also be 2 numbers in parentheses without any operation in the middle. That also indicates multiplication. At this point in time, you should know how to multiply numbers. I will go over how to do that in class. And there are some properties of multiplication. The commutative property of multiplication. Just like the commutative property of addition, with this property, the order in which you multiply numbers in does not matter. So 17 times 24 is the same thing as 14 times 27. The associative property of multiplication works the same way it does in addition. It makes no difference whether you multiply the first 2 numbers together and then multiply the third, or if you multiply the last 2 numbers and then multiply the first. Also, since it's commutative, you could also switch the numbers around and multiply the first number times the last number and then multiply it by the middle number. You get the same answer no matter which way you do it. And you notice that the numbers that you're going to multiply together first are in parentheses. The identity property of multiplication. The identity property of multiplication is 1. Any number multiplied by 1 is that number. An example, 1 times 44 equals 144, and 67 times 1 equals 67. There's also 0 property of multiplication. The 0 property of multiplication means that any number multiplied by 0 is 0. So 0 times 134 is 0, and 0 times 53 is 0. You can also do estimation with multiplication. When an exact answer is not needed, you can estimate the product of numbers multiplied together. We round each number to its highest place value. That way you're only multiplying one number followed by a number of zeros in the factors. For an example, you purchase 12 packs of hot dog rolls. Estimate the total number of hot dog rolls. Well, the solution, you estimate each number by rounding to the highest place value. There are 12 packs, 12 rolls in each pack, so 12 rounds to 10 and 24 rounds to 20. You multiply 10 times 20, you have 200. You have about 200 hot dog rolls. Now, when you're doing multiplication, especially with large numbers, you are allowed to use a calculator. So that's perfectly fine. If you're doing just, multiplication of one number times 2 numbers, or one number times one number, you can probably do that by hand. And it's also helpful if you know the multiplication table. So if you don't know it, look for it on the internet, and that will be a help for you when you're multiplying numbers.